Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Daily Gwei Refuel, where we recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 25th of November, 2024. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So before we jump into the news of the last week, I guess, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping first. So first things first, obviously I know that refuels have become weekly at this point. You know, it is called the Daily Gwei Refuel, it's called the Daily Gwei, but they've become weekly at this point. And I know a while back I said that I'd changed the cadence to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then that just didn't happen. And now I'm basically doing episodes when I kind of get around to it, I guess you could say, or maybe not, maybe get around to it's the wrong way of putting it, but like when I do them. There's no real rhyme or reason as to why I do them or don't do them, but I think I want to change that. Now, just to give you a little bit of an explanation as to why this has happened. So before I went to Europe for my vacation for 2 months there, I was riding my bike a lot and feeling really great, like physically and mentally from getting out, getting outside, getting off the screens, doing a lot of physical kind of activity there. Then, unfortunately, my bike broke and I haven't gotten it repaired since then. So I kind of fell off on the, I guess, physical exercise train, if you will. And that has made me feel really crappy, I guess. Like I don't feel, I feel tired a lot. I don't feel very healthy. And my mental health has also taken a bit of a dive because of that. Not really anything to do with crypto, just like a personal thing, but that has definitely affected my ability to do refuels and to just get motivated to do them. Like I love doing them. I love talking to you guys. I love educating you guys, but it does become harder when I spend a lot of my time just being like, oh, I feel like crap, right? But yeah, I mean, that's going to change going forward. I'm going to get my bike fixed. I've just been so lazy about it, but I'm going to get my bike fixed, get back on it, get my physical health back in order, and that will obviously help my mental health as well. And then I'm making a commitment today on this episode that I will go back to doing at least, I guess, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the new year of refuels, but I'm going to try to go back to doing it daily. Like I didn't stop doing it daily because I was burnt out or anything. It was more that I think what happened was to do with like the fact that I stopped exercising and I just felt like so tired all the time and I didn't feel kind of as motivated to do it. But I really want to try and get back to that daily cadence. Like I did that for so long as well. It's not like I can't do it. I think I can. So just a little bit of background and I guess context as to why I haven't been doing many refuels lately. In saying all of that, going forward, again, until the new year, I will try to do as many as I can. You guys probably remember that I mentioned that I'm going on a trip to Japan in early January. That has been booked. It's going to be from January 3rd to the 15th, so there'll be no refuels during that time. But then once I get back from that trip, I do want to try and get back to the at least 3 episodes a week cadence, and then hopefully rolling into daily cadence again, because as I said, I really enjoy doing these and I really want to do as many as possible here. But anyway, enough housekeeping there. Let's jump into the news. And it's been a bit of a bullish last few days, I think, or I guess like the last couple of weeks for the markets generally, right? I mean, everything seems to be going up only. There are top signals everywhere. Meme coins are going nuts and there's a lot of really dark stuff happening in the meme coin space. I don't know how much you guys pay attention to it, but it's not looking too hot. It's definitely not something that really interests me about the crypto ecosystem at all, and I try to ignore it, but then everyone on Twitter is talking about it, and it's just crazy bull market things, I think. But what I do like to pay attention to and what does interest me is things like this thread from Vivek here. So as you guys know, there's been a lot of discussion around a Bitcoin strategic reserve that some I guess like politicians in the US are pursuing, and a lot of Bitcoiners in the US are pursuing, with the basic premise of getting the US to put Bitcoin on its balance sheet, essentially. And there's been a bill, I believe, introduced or going to be introduced to do this. Who knows if it's going to pass or anything like that, or if it's going to happen, but that's been a thing that's been talked about a lot. Now, Vivek's thread talks about the fact that ETH or Ethereum should also be part of this, and there should be a US digital asset strategic reserve that includes ETH on top of BTC. And he gives a bunch of reasons for this, and essentially the TLDR, I mean, I'll link this thread in the YouTube description below, but the TLDR of this is that I know ETH is more than, I guess, just a store of value and money, right? ETH and Ethereum are more than that. Ethereum is a new technology, right? It is a new internet, if you will. It is a world computer. It enables so many new things. And one of those big use cases that it enables is the tokenization of real world assets, such as stablecoins, treasuries, and others that we've seen on chain that we're going to keep seeing more of. Now, because of this, it means that Ethereum as a settlement layer, as a blockchain platform, becomes strategically important for the US, especially when it comes to stablecoins. stablecoins because it has most of the US dollar stablecoins on there, and those things continue to grow. I don't know if you guys have seen, but the inflows of stablecoins have just been going up and up and up, and most of it is happening on Ethereum. So Ethereum becomes strategically important to the US through that use of stablecoins which are tied to the US dollar, because it basically further exports US dollar as a money throughout the world. So that's one big thing there. But then Vivek continues and basically says, ETH provides a new uncorrelated yield for the financial economy through its staking mechanism. It's uncorrelated basically to anything else in the economy. And that is very unique to Ethereum because Bitcoin doesn't have that, right? BTC does not have any yield. It doesn't have native yield. I know that MicroStrategy and some other companies are doing some, I guess, creative financial engineering to give a yield, quote unquote, to BTC. But BTC does not have proof of stake, so it does not have a yield. You can't just get direct yield off of BTC itself. You can through some other kind of weird ways, but obviously there's more risk layered on top of that. And it's a different thing altogether. ETH provides this natural kind of uncorrelated yield for the Ethereum economy. And then Vivek also quoted one of my tweets where I listed the major companies that are building on Ethereum right now. And these companies are, again, strategically important to the US. They include the likes of BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, PayPal, Robinhood, Visa, Stripe. These are all US-based companies, massive US-based companies, right? And they're strategically important to the US. So that's another major reason why the US, it would make sense for the US to have a strategic ETH reserve as well as a BTC reserve here. But I'll link this thread in the YouTube description below for you guys to go check out. But obviously, I think this would be a good thing for the US. I think it would be a good thing for ETH and for Ethereum. There's no guarantee this will happen. There's no guarantee the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve will happen. But as these technologies continue to grow, as they become more ingrained in society, as they become more important across the broad spectrum of the world, not just within the US, then it begs the question of, okay, well, when are governments going to get involved? When are nation states going to get directly involved here? They can't just sit around forever and ignore this thing, just like they couldn't sit around forever and ignore the internet. So, and not just the internet, but computing as well. I think the US made a big mistake for a long time by not onshoring chip manufacturing. I'm sure you guys have seen that they're trying to do that now with their new CHIPS Act. I think they were putting aside $40 billion of the government budget to fund construction of these chip manufacturing factories because of the fact that a lot of the, I guess, manufacturing of chips is concentrated in Taiwan. And that's strategically weird, I guess you could say, because of the fact that we know China does a lot of saber rattling about wanting to essentially invade Taiwan or take Taiwan back as they claim it belongs to them. And that would obviously be really bad because one of two things would happen. Either China would get access to those chip manufacturing plants and basically own them, or two, there would be a failsafe put in place by Taiwan to blow up those chip manufacturing plants, which means that I think it's 60 or 70% of the world's computer chips, CPUs, would overnight be unavailable, be gone, right? There would be a mass shortage, and that would obviously be really bad for the world because we rely so heavily on technology. So I think that the US can learn from that mistake when it comes to computing, and also they were pioneers with the internet, I'll give them that, but with computing, I think they made a mistake there. They can learn from that and make sure that they're at the forefront of Ethereum, of Bitcoin, of crypto generally. And I think with obviously Trump now being president, I think there's more likely to be the case now that happens than it would have with the Democrats still being in power, obviously because the Democrats have been so hostile towards crypto. I'm really glad that we have a friendlier crypto admin now in a vacuum. Obviously, I'm not discussing any of the politics here. I'm just looking at it from a crypto point of view, because I do believe that Ethereum especially is strategically important for the future of the US, not just ETH, the asset, but also Ethereum, the network there. But you can go give Vivek's tweet thread a read for yourself. I'll link that in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, moving on to a bunch of core dev updates. So Christine Kim had a great little summary here of the current status of what's happening in core dev land. So Pectra DevNet 4 is being deprecated soon. The Mekong testnet remains stable and is finalizing. This is a testnet for Pectra, or a public testnet for Pectra. There are 1 or 2 nodes with potential issues that devs will be investigating, and Mekong will not be updated to DevNet 5 specs. Devs are finalizing DevNet 5 scope on the next all-core devs call, and we'll try to launch the testnet in the next 2 weeks, which should be happening, in the next next, I guess, like 10 or so days. Devs are targeting DevNet 6 for the inclusion of a blob capacity increase. That's very cool. You know, that we were kind of like on the fence about that, but we may be getting a blob capacity increase in Pectra after all. And PeerDAS and EOF testnets are to be rebased on top of Pectra once Pectra DevNet 5 specs are stable. So PeerDAS and EOF are not slated for inclusion in Pectra, but they will potentially be on these testnets, which is really, really cool to see. So good progress being made on Pectra. I will stick by my call that we're probably going to see it in like March, April of next year go live on the network. As you guys know, the most exciting EIP, or at least the one that I think is the most exciting EIP that's going live in Pectra, is the Max EB EIP, which allows you to essentially stake more than 32 ETH per validator, which is obviously great for solo stakers, but also great for consolidating down validators on the network. You have the EIP 7702, I believe it is, which is the account abstraction EIP, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later. I've got it in one of my tabs here. And then you've got a few other EIPs as well there, as well as a potential blob capacity increase, which is obviously critically important, because if you guys have been paying attention to blobs, you'll know that they've been at capacity all month, and they're basically, the demand keeps going up, and blob demand keeps going up, and we need to scale up those blobs there. All right, so speaking of, I guess, like capacity increases on Ethereum, I put out a tweet the other day where I basically asked for a temperature check on doubling the Ethereum L1 gas limit in 10 million increments from 30 million to 60 million. And I'm in favor of doing it, and we'll be changing my Solid Staker configurations to target a 40 million gas limit. And I did that, not that it really counts for anything unless the majority of the network does it. Hey, but I did it as a symbolic thing, and I didn't want to lie and say I'm going to do it and then not do it. No, I did it. I did it for my Solo Stakers. I didn't do it for my Rocket Pool stakers, just for my solo staking nodes that I run separate to that, but it's done. Now, the reason I put out this tweet was not to necessarily advocate for a gas limit increase, but to get the conversation started again, so that we can actually move this forward, because this conversation tends to stagnate a lot, and things tend to get lost. But I'm really glad that I put this tweet out, because I had a bunch of people message me about this. I talked to a couple of core devs about this, and what's really cool is a long-standing EIP that's been in development for quite a while, EIP 4444 or quadruple 4, is actually much closer to going live on the network than I thought it was, and it also doesn't require a hard fork. Now, I don't know why more people aren't talking about this EIP. It's the one that does history expiry in Ethereum. And why this is relevant to the gas limit increase is because once this is integrated into the network, it basically means that we can increase the gas limit without worrying about the chain size getting bigger, because we're going to be expiring some history of Ethereum, so that essentially it works the same as blobs, where the chain will get bigger for a period of time, but then we expire it, and then the chain size stays, I guess, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Stays stable, so to speak, or it stays predictable, so to speak. And that's one of the main concerns with raising the gas limit here. Now, the reason why I bring this EIP up today is because there is a document here that was published only 2 days ago, and I would not have come across this document if it wasn't for me putting out this question, but essentially goes through the different phases of what the core devs and researchers are targeting with regards to EIP 4444. So the first phase is pre-merge data expiry. So the scope of this is to allow for dropping of block bodies and receipts from pre-merge blocks by other clients. So this would be of blocks prior to September 15th, 2022. So before the merge. And this has been agreed upon by all the major execution layer client teams so far. Literally every single one. Besu, Aragon, Geth, Nethermind, Nimbus, and Reth here, which is great. And Nimbus is actually making an execution layer client, in case you guys didn't know. That's why they're there. This doesn't apply to the consensus layer just yet, but that's phase one. And the timeline for that, you may think, oh, maybe this is not going to happen until like 2026 or something like that. No, the timeline for this is May 1st, 2025. That is not too far away from here. I thought this was way further out than it is. So this is really, really bullish here. And that's just phase one. There are other phases, phase two, and then there are a bunch of other other information in here about client implementation plans, but that's just the first phase. And then phase two, there's no timeline set for that yet, but essentially it goes beyond the pre-merge blocks and basically does it for all of the blocks, I guess, in the past. So all previous blocks from today or from the current head of the chain, and expires them until the heat death of the universe is what's said here, which is quite funny. So this is really bullish for the fact that we can increase the gas limit once this is done by quite a substantial amount, because as I said, you don't have to worry about the chain size getting too big anymore. So really cool to see this. You can go read this document for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But this is really bullish, guys. It means that L1 scale can go up a lot in the next 6 months, and this doesn't just apply to L1 scale for L1, it also applies for L2s with blobs and with a gas limit increase. So it's going to be a lot better going forward. And another EIP that I wanted to talk about, which is potentially coming in for Saka, which is the upgrade after Pectra, so maybe end of 2025, early 2026, is EIP 7732 or ePBS. ePBS has been something that I've talked about for a long time on the refuel. It is finally in view right now, and this document from Potos does a really great job of explaining exactly what ePBS is and why we need it. I just wanted to highlight this because it's like a question and answer thing, or a frequently asked questions document, where essentially it just asks all these questions and answers them, and you get a complete overview, or maybe like a near complete overview of what ePBS looks like and what the future of Ethereum kind of block building or the block building pipeline looks like going forward here. So just wanted to highlight that document for you guys. You can go check it out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, an interesting tweet that I came across from Nixo today was this, I guess, like table that shows the different ways people can solo stake or home stake, or I guess like stake generally. And in this, I guess like in this table, Nixo captioned it by saying, "I think it's important that we retain solo staker as the definition of a node operator who validates without anything between them and the beacon chain contract. It is the most solo way of staking." And as you can see on the table here, essentially, a solo staker has 32 ETH, where it doesn't matter, at home, in the cloud, wherever it is, controls the configuration of it. Yes, that you need to be able to do that. And the examples of that is basically just like someone like me, I guess, like a true solo staker where I control everything end to end. Then a home staker is a 32, you either put 32 ETH up or you put a minimum of the protocol. So for example, in Rocket Pool, it would be like an 8 ETH or a 4 ETH kind of bond here. And then where it is residential, so it has to be done at home, or in this case, it's done at home. You control the config, and then the example is a mini pool operator or solo staker, staker staking from home. Remote, so remote stakers are the same thing, same capital requirements, but commercial, so essentially in the cloud or something like that, it's using AWS. That's the example given here. And then there are other categories such as managed, professional, and liquid, and those are all explained in this table. So I'll link the tweet in the YouTube description below for you to go check out the table itself, but I think this is critically important. I do agree with Nixo that we need to make sure that we define these things and keep those definitions fresh in people's minds, because the lines definitely blur a lot, and especially going forward, they're gonna blur a lot more because of the fact that there are many, many different ways of staking, and that is only going to keep increasing. And you could say that like there could be another thing on this table of I guess like staked with the ETFs. That would be, I guess, that could fall under like the professional or managed. Actually, it would probably fall under managed in this table if I'm reading it right. But it might be distinct in that it's a lot more complex, where essentially you might have a different staking party to the custody party to the party that's essentially taking a fee to, like, there's a lot of complexities involved here. We don't have staked ETFs yet, but that could potentially be something there. But anyway, I'll link this in the YouTube description below, and you can go check it out. All right, so I put out this tweet the other day saying one of the biggest and longest standing user experience pain points in Ethereum, such as the approve token and then swap the token flow, will be solved in 2025. Not to mention all the other things coming along with the below upgrades, such as smarter externally owned accounts, sponsored gas payments, advanced permissions, and more. And I've linked this, there's a picture here in my tweet, and I'll link this in the YouTube description below, that goes through the 4 major, I guess, like upgrades coming as part of the account abstraction stack. The first one is ERC 4337. So this solved most of the account abstraction use cases, and it's used by a lot of serious projects, so it is already live. Then you have EIP 7702, which I talked about a little earlier. This is going live in Pectra and will allow EOAs, which is just a normal Ethereum address, to role play as smart contracts. Then you've got RIP 7560. So RIP stands for Rollup Improvement Proposal. So this applies to rollups, which enshrines the ERC 4337 design and becomes a native part of the L2 rollups. It is currently ready on a DevNet. And then you've got EIP 7701, which is similar to that RIP I just mentioned, but less opinionated, targets Ethereum L1 with EOF, and feedback is requested right now. So those top 3 things are basically like ready or there or already live. And then 7701 will be live probably if EOF goes into Fosaka, it might go live there. I don't even know if EOF is going to make it in. There's still kind of drama around EOF, so we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, this is one of the biggest pain points for users. And now I know there are a bunch of different wallets and interfaces that have already kind of quote unquote solved this for their users, but this I guess like the critical thing here is EIP 7702, which basically makes the network itself aware of this. So you can do this on top of the network, but with 7702, essentially, as I said, a normal Ethereum account. So let's say you own MetaMask and you spin up a new Ethereum address. That is a normal Ethereum account. That's what we call an externally owned account, or an EOA. They will be able to role play a smart contract. So essentially, they'll be able to act as a proxy smart contract. So what that means, as I said in my tweet, is that you essentially get things like sponsored gas payments, advanced permissions, approve then swap being one transaction, one bundled transaction instead of two. So it's a huge unlock, and it's a huge unlock for all the existing Ethereum users that just have an EOA that they use and they don't use a smart contract wallet. And it is cheaper as well, because deploying a smart contract wallet on layer 1 Ethereum is quite expensive, so it becomes cheaper there. So that's all like coming, in on DevNets, on testnet. Some of it's already live. So yeah, that's a lot. That's something that we have to look forward to in 2025 for sure. Right, moving on, Coinbase Wallet has introduced USDC rewards. So essentially, for the first time ever, you can now earn 4.7% APY with USDC rewards simply by holding USDC in your wallet on chain. So this is holding it in Coinbase Wallet, I believe. I don't think you can hold it in any other wallets from what I know to get that 4.7%. But this is huge, guys, and I want to explain why this is a really big deal. Not only is it a big deal because you get like yield just for holding a stablecoin in your account here, but it's a big deal because, as I said earlier, Ethereum is the home of stablecoins, especially USDC. And not just Ethereum L1, but Base, which as an L2, and other L2s like Arbitrum, OP Mainnet, etc., right? It's the home of stablecoins. So Ethereum may not be, I guess, quote unquote, winning in some different verticals like the meme coin vertical or the casino vertical. But in my opinion, Ethereum is winning where it matters, which is the real I guess, like fundamental long-term sustainable business use cases, like a simple yield on your dollars, right? Like stablecoins, like tokenized treasuries, like tokenized assets generally, like real finance, like Aave, for example, and Maker, and doing token swapping and stuff like that, like for real assets on Ethereum. Ethereum is winning and growing in that area, and the Ethereum ecosystem, because of its L2 roadmap, can win every area. It doesn't even have to just win that. It can win all the other areas. Like, you can have the degen stuff happening. I mean, Base has a meme coin ecosystem. You can do that stuff there. So I think that when it comes to the fundamental long-term sustainable stuff, it really is just happening like 90+% on Ethereum. And that's, I believe, because of the fact that Ethereum is the premier serious chain to deploy these things on, to do these things on. The other chains that exist out there, they just are nowhere near as mature as Ethereum. They don't have the same, I guess, kind of like professional reputation around it, and they definitely appeal to a different crowd. Whereas the TradFi crowd, the real world crowd, I think that stuff's going to be done on Ethereum, and this is just, I guess, like the latest example of that with the USDC rewards on Coinbase Wallet. Now, to I guess, like, be completely honest here, I don't think this is just a Ethereum USDC or Base USDC. I'm pretty sure this applies to USDC on other chains. But as I said, most of the USDC exists on Ethereum or in the Ethereum ecosystem, which is the key point I'm trying to make here. So yeah, anyway, you can go check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. So moving on and sticking with the theme of sustainable things on chain, Joseph here tweeted out something really cool where he said, imagine getting your salary streamed to you. Instead of $4,000 every other week, you get 0.0033 cents per second for 2 weeks straight. Now imagine the stablecoin being streamed is yield bearing the entire time. Your salary just increased by the APY of the yield. That's the power of Nerite and Superfluid. Now, Superfluid's been around for a while. I believe Nerite is quite new, but they're basically a friendly fork of Liquidity V2 on Arbitrum. And essentially what they're doing is they're putting all these money Legos together to give you this. Now, this salary streaming thing, as I said, is nothing new. It's been around for a while. But again, this is the kind of stuff that has a real world impact. This is the stuff that goes beyond just speculation. This is the stuff that applies to pretty much everyone, right? Like getting your salary streamed to you every week, every second instead of every week, right? Which, if it's yield bearing, means a lot, because then you're just compounding on that yield. So, and again, like, there's money Legos involved here, so you can do different things with this. So you could tokenize this position and on sell it, or like take a loan against it. Or it's really cool because you can do something like essentially prove to someone, hey, there is a bunch of funds in this account, or in this, I guess, like tokenized version of this account. I want to use these funds to borrow against, but I don't have all the funds right now. But hey, I can guarantee that I'm going to have the funds in like a month's time because of the fact that it is being streamed to me on this protocol. So you can do a bunch of really cool things here which I think is going to keep growing. But yeah, again, this is the sort of stuff that I like to see, these kind of long-term sustainable things, not things that are very short-term speculative extractive, because in my mind that doesn't really push the ecosystem forward too much. It may, I guess, like push things forward in that it pushes prices up, which brings more attention to crypto, which brings more people into crypto, so on and so forth. But if we're talking about like actual long-term sustainable use cases and things that people can I guess resonate with, like everyday people can resonate with, this is something that I think is right up there. All right, last up here, just a new feature from L2Beat. So no longer are they just tracking transactions per second across L2s, they're also tracking user operations per second, or UOPS. So what are they and why are they different from, I guess, like transactions per second? So essentially, with user operations per second, they're going to be looking at what's happening inside of a transaction. So you can see here they say tracking UOPS gives a better sense of user activity and the rate of usage of account abstraction. So as I said before, there are going to be these bundled transactions that are going to be more frequent, and they're going to just count as like one transaction, or one TPS, right? So you really want to be able to unpack that and see what's under the hood here. How many user operations are happening per second, not just transactions per second. And they explain this a bit further in their thread here, which I'll link in the YouTube description below. But no surprise, this is also at all-time high. I mean, I can bring up the L2Beat website for you to kind of see this. So if we go to the L2Beat website and we go to the user operations per second, you can go to max and you can see that this is basically at all-time high, right? Like not exactly all-time high, but it's trending in that direction. Same with TPS. But user operations per second is probably a better way to track the activity happening on L2s here. And there's also rollup.wtf, which tracks real-time activity. They're doing TPS right now, or still doing TPS, and they're doing megagas per second. I do wonder if they're going to integrate, user operations per second into this. We'll have to see. But yeah, that's another site that I use to track a lot of things in real time. And I've gone through this site on the refill before. You can like filter out things that are just using blobs, or things that are using kind of Celestia for DA or call data for DA, so on and so forth. It's funny, the only thing still using call data is the Polygon ZK EVM, which is a little bit weird. They aren't using blobs yet, but I think that maybe when the Polygon POS chain becomes a layer 2, they might use blobs there. We'll have to see anyway. But yeah, you can go check out the user ops thing from L2Beat for yourself if you'd like to. I'll link that in the YouTube description below for you to do so. Now, I have a couple of minutes left here of this episode. I don't want to give another one of my kind of sermons here about the market, but I do want to quickly mention something, because the market is definitely heating up in a really big way right now, and I feel like we're essentially in the phase of the market that we were in like late 2020, so like December 2020. And I feel that because I was around back then, and I'm getting the same feelings now as I was back then. This is the bulk of the bull market happening, guys. Like, this is the final stretch. Like, I feel very confident in saying that. I don't know where we're going to top from here. I don't know if the top's going to be in like May again, like it was in 2021, and then we'll have another top in like November. I have no idea, but I do know that things seem like, and I'm pretty confident they're going to get a lot crazier from here, as obviously ETH goes to all-time high. It's not there yet, but BTC basically hit 100K. So ETH, I don't believe, is far behind in getting, its all-time high, and then going into price discovery, plus a lot of other things going crazy. It's just that phase of the market. Now, the reason I bring this up is to get, not only to get you excited, obviously, because you've waited a long time for this probably, but also to make you a little bit cautious about things. I have on my pinned tweets, actually, on my Twitter profile here, which I'll link in the YouTube description below, a bunch of pro tips for the bull market that I really think you should go review. I think there's 6 of them that essentially apply to every crypto bull market, and is really the soundest advice that I can give. And I think the number one piece of advice I can give, honestly, and this is not financial kind of investment advice, but just advice generally, is that in these markets, it can be very tempting to keep, increasing your, sell targets, and keep increasing in your head, like, oh, if I sell here, I'll make this much money. If I sell there, I'll make that much money. Honestly, I think I said like a year ago, you should have had your sell targets or sell spreadsheet done already. But the soundest advice I can give is that you need to be taking profits on the way up. You should not be trying to time a top. If you want to sell things, sell them on the way up. It doesn't matter if you sell too early if you make a profit, in my mind, because it's going to suck if you don't sell and then it goes down and then you're in a loss again, and then you're stuck waiting for it maybe to go up again in 4 years because of the 4-year cycle, right? So yeah, I wouldn't do that. That's like the number one thing that I try to live by, is like, as the market heats up, as it goes up, I try to see, I try to sell into a market that is like pretty hot, but like I don't try to time the top, because you always want to try and get the most you can out of your investments. But it's extremely difficult, guys. It is not easy. Investing is not easy because it's easy enough to like buy something and then just sit on it for a while. I mean, I say that's easy. That's not easy either. But like, that's not even the hardest part. The hardest part, truly, I believe, of all the market cycles is taking profits, because you get greedy. You do get greedy. Like I felt that greed before in my life. I still feel it a little bit today, and I know a lot of people who still feel it, and especially if this is the cycle that you think you're going to like make it in, so to speak, you tend to get very greedy. And yeah, I just don't want to see anyone wrecking themselves. I don't want to see anyone like not taking profits and then the cycle ends and then they're like, oh shit, I should have sold. As I said, you should have probably thought about this a while ago, because now things are crazy. It's going to be influencing your thought process, but it's still a good time to think about this and still a good time to make a plan for yourself. Don't get too greedy. Don't get too cocky. You're not a genius investor. You never are, and you never will be. No one is a genius investor. The best investors that I know are the ones that understand how to keep their emotions in check and don't get too greedy. The ones who get too greedy blow themselves up. We've seen that time and time again within crypto. But anyway, on that note, I think that's going to be it for today. So thank everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all next time. Thanks, everyone.